so proudly we hailed, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rattling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land under the fray, and the home of the brave?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Freedom Network. My name's Gary. Here we are. Yeah, I know I've been absent for a couple of shows. I get it. I get it. I know. I got the emails. Trust me, I get it. This is my crazy time of year, and the way my capitalist butt makes money. This is when I gotta do my thing. But we'll be around. Don't you worry about it. Right through the holiday season, we have some great shows planned for you, just like the one that we have tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Freedom Network, you can reach us, timandgary@gmail.com. We have groups on Facebook and some other links that we can send you. Send me an email and I'll send you the links. That seems to work best. Tonight we will have a busy show, which we like. We're going to have Mike Labrassa. Now, what's great is Mike comes in. He's from our local school committee. We had talked about the fact that we were going to talk about question 2, which we want to talk to him about, and also about what's going on with the budgets and the schools in our town here. And I'm sure they mirror your town if you're watching from outside in another town. It seems that everybody goes through the same woes one way or the other. Let's do a few emails and comments. We'll take a quick break, and then we will come back with Mike and try to learn about a few things, something we love to do here on the Freedom Network. All right, let's see here. Let me get right to it. Rick says, Gary, where you been? Hope you're not gone. No, I'm not gone. Rick, don't you worry about nothing. I am here and here to stay. But it's, like I said, it's a busy time of year for me. So I got to do what I got to do. But at the same time, you'll see me more often than you won't. So don't worry about it. Here's a do not use my name. Gary, what are your thoughts on that last debate? Well, I thought the moderator was the best yet. I did. I mean, as far as the candidates, you know, I'm looking through your email and some of the stuff that you've got here. They really both just kind of turn me off. They really and truly just do. I'm not going to waver from that point at the 11th hour. I was very excited when Chris, right at the beginning of the debate, talked about the Constitution. I mean, that was fantastic considering we've had very little constitutional talk in this presidential election. Doesn't that seem like an oxymoronic kind of a thing to say? I mean, how do you have a presidential election where we don't have a debate and talk about the Constitution? So Chris did. He brought it up. I mean, I was really happy. But after a few minutes, and I got an email coming in right now. I will definitely try to get to it. But after a few minutes, what I noticed, let me just use my technical savvy here and put you aside for 1 second. This debate left. It left. It slid down towards who's really the worst person. Now, in most cases, we choose between who is the worst based on policy. That's what we do in America. We look at the policy and we say, you know, this one's good, this one's not so good. I agree with this one that much. To me, you get over 50%, and I agree with you, I'll usually vote for you. If I want the perfect candidate, I, like you, should go look in the mirror. You're never going to agree with everybody all the way, but you got to make the best decision. That's what we're told. But not today. Folks, it's a tough decision today because we're being asked to choose between two people who really don't talk about real, tangible issues. We're not talking about that. You know, they'll talk taxes, but there's no substance. They'll talk. They got into it a little bit with the gun debate, the abortion debate. These are good debates to have. America should have these debates. We should know what's going on. I support what Trump says about the Second Amendment. I am not, so in love with this whole abortion debate, to be honest with you. You know how I feel about it. I'm pro-choice. I'm disgusted by these what we'd call late term, or what are they, DX or something like that they call them, abortions. It's just disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm not going to support that. But I do support pro-choice. I would like people to choose life, but I don't think that's my decision to make in the beginning stages. And obviously, if there's something that was terrible with the baby, with the mother, obviously, mother's life's got to come first. That's where I stand. That's what it is. So I aggravate the conservatives. I aggravate everybody on my show. Don't worry. I'm an equal opportunity aggravator. But I thought it was interesting where he said he thinks that it should go to the states. So I would have followed up, if I was Chris, with a question that simply said, well, if you think it should go to the states, would you appoint justices that would want it to go to the states, or would you want them to just ban it then across the nation? I would have called Trump out on that. I thought it was a little bit of a cop-out answer, but I support what he said about guns. It's you know how I feel about that. We'll have Richard back in, don't worry. But as I look through my notes and all my things here, I think that everyone's forgetting a few things. No matter who wins this election, folks, no matter who wins, right? Endless for-profit wars are going to continue. The government will continue to grow more and more powerful. The NSA and Homeland Security will grow. The Constitution isn't going to be really enforced. It'll be selectively enforced. Term limits will not become a reality. The division is going to continue to expand, obviously, in the United States of America, which is a terrible thing. And this is my opinion on this debate. I'm looking at some blogging on the debate now. The whole race, I don't know. If I have to say who do I agree more with on policy, I guess I do agree more with Trump on policy, far from all of his policy. But, if I had to line them all up and make my decision, like I just told you, at 51%, he would get there. I like him on immigration. I like him on taxes. I like him on guns. Okay, do I think we're going to build a wall? I think that's a little crazy. I'd rather someone say, hey, excuse me, here's a novel idea. Let's stop fighting wars that we can't win. And we can't win them because we don't fight them. If we wanted to take, let's say, Syria over, we could take Syria over. We have a big issue in this country with all of a sudden deciding that we want to be the police in the world. And our sons and daughters are paying the price for that. I mean, I would pull them home and put them on the border and secure the border. I don't see about this whole talk about a wall. I mean, you've seen the footage on Facebook. People jump a wall. They dig under a wall. I don't know. I don't buy that whole wall thing. But I do agree on immigration that we got to do something about this. We got a problem that's out of control. So on those issues, I guess he wins. But Hillary is the worst that I've ever seen personally. I don't like her. I don't like her politics, and I don't like her, which is a problem when I get into the voting booth. But looking at the people that are in the suits, that are on the stage, I'm going to tell you now, I'm disgusted with both. Someone told me today, just today, how can anyone vote for Trump? He's so awful to women. And it kind of makes me chuckle and laugh. And not because I think he's fine with women. I think he's a moron when it comes to what he's said and what he's done, quite frankly, in relations to talking about or to women. But it makes me laugh that this person supports Hillary. I mean, really laugh. Brainwashing at its finest, because this person doesn't get that she brings with her, right? And I'm looking at a picture now. The settled out of court, okay, settled out of court, so we can't call him a rapist because he settled the case and he didn't go to court. But she brings her husband along for the ride, and he's going to get a whole fresh batch of interns, Bill will. He'd be very happy if she wins, I'm sure. He gets to go right on back in. I mean, I'm going to tell you, we missed a boat on Rand Paul, if you're a constitutionalist, and I certainly like Gowdy. I'd like to see those kind of guys more involved with our politics. I don't think we'd be talking about groping. I don't think we'd be talking about emails. I think we'd be talking about issues. if even he was in, and it was either him against Trump or him against Hillary or whatever, it's just awful. That's how I feel. I feel that we missed the boat. I'm disgusted. It's going to be very difficult for me to cast a vote at all in the presidential election. It's going to be very, very difficult for me to do so. And I'll tell you why. Because my vote means something to me. And looking at the two people that are asking for my vote doesn't really show me that they doesn't really show me that they're worthy of it. Let's see here. All right, we got the Cadillac man out there. He just wanted to check in and say that he was out there. Glad to have you out there. Mackenzie chimed in, said Gary, Obamacare is already going up. Yes, it's going up. In some cases, it's going to be going up double digits. So what does this mean? Look, Obama says that Obamacare is just a starter house. That's what he said. Now, rewind several years, Obamacare was the savior of health care. You know, Gruber says that the program is running exactly as it was designed to run. Well, if this is the intent, then maybe someone like Nancy Pelosi should have read the damn thing. Would have probably been a little help for us all. But wait, look, this was supposed to lower costs for everyone, right? Utopia was supposed to ensue. That's what was going to happen. What a joke. Why do you folks you just keep buying the bill of goods that they're selling? Not all of you, some of you. I don't get it. To me, it's just a complete joke. If anyone doesn't still get what Obamacare is, before we bring Mike in, I'm going to give you a brief explanation of what Obamacare is. All right? Let me tell you what Obamacare is. Oh, folks, it's a scheme. It's a scheme that guarantees one thing, that Americans will pay the outrageous cost for medicine and for services that the drug companies and that the medical field demand so that you can stay alive. All right? Your very life will depend upon this, and it's going to cost you this much. And Obama says we're going to guarantee those payments come right in. That's all it is. If they wanted to address healthcare issues in America, they would have tried to regulate the costs of what healthcare is. We just saw the EpiPen. I had surgery a couple of times, unfortunately, but I've had surgery. Do you know that one of the single most expensive pieces is the anesthesiologist that puts me out? That my end can be as high as $800? $800 to be out for 45 minutes. See, this is the problem with healthcare, folks. It's EpiPens. It's $800 that you got to pay, and it's $1,800. It's just that my insurance covered it. This is the problem with our medical care in the United States of America. That's all it is. That's all it is. Everyone is so mad. They're so mad at insurance companies, but in reality, the insurance company is the one that's going to pay the bill. And the cost is so high that, of course, the coverage is going to be really high because no one's addressing the problem. And what's the problem? What is the problem? The problem is how much it costs for the service. How much does it cost for the service? Now, this isn't like buying a loaf of bread. This isn't like buying, and that may be a bad example because you need food to live, I understand, but we wouldn't have this with a loaf of bread. We wouldn't have this. We'd have riots if bread was $17.50 a loaf, wouldn't we? Well, that's what you're paying for medical costs. This is nothing more than to ensure that the money is going to flow. It's not about you getting care. It's about money, and money first, and never forget that. And what's happening now is you are guaranteeing that these companies, these we like to call them what, big pharma and big med and all this stuff, they're going to get the money that they want, and it's now mandated by law, it has been for some time, that they will get the money that they want. Excuse me, I have had a cold while I've been gone too. It's been a rough few weeks for me, folks. Let me tell you. I mean, I'm amazed I'm even here tonight. But this is what's going on with your insurance, with your health care. All right? These entities lobby Congress. They lobby them and spend big bucks on Congress and senators and presidential elections, and they feed it back into the machine. And all of a sudden, they get what they want. Look, I'm a pretty conservative guy. You folks know my politics. You want to regulate the cost of, I don't want a hearing. That's not what I'm looking for, where everybody gets all upset and we get a few sound bites and some quotes, and maybe the EpiPen goes down from whatever it is, $600 to $500 or $400. Folks, I don't even know if there's a 15, I heard somewhere there was a $1.50 worth of medicine at cost in the EpiPen. It's just absolutely awful. And Obama's out there now backpedaling and saying, well, they're already floating it's the Republicans' fault. Somehow it's the Republicans' fault. The only people that read the bill went out and voted against it, but now it's their fault. It just blows my mind. It absolutely, positively blows my mind. Folks, I'm going to bring Mike in a second. The only other thing I want to tell you, and I have to tell you this, and I just wanted to take about 30 to a minute and talk to you about something, and that's going to be the Republican Town Committee that I was very humbled to be elected by. Got 800 plus votes in a very small town. We didn't do any kind of campaigning or anything for it. We just kind of let it happen and see what would happen. I do want to tell you that the people that run this committee are fantastic people. They're good people. They're good Americans. They're wholesome. They're wonderful. I'm all in. My issue is with the parents of the party, not the local party, and the fact that within the bylaws, it does state that one cannot oppose, if you will, the candidate, or more importantly, that you would support the candidate. Now, being in the public, the little bit of public eye that I have, and the little other bit of public eye I have on let's say, Facebook and other avenues, and the little bit of TV and radio dabbling and things of that nature, I can't make a commitment that I'm going to support anybody blindly. I just can't do it. And for those reasons, I don't expect them to change the bylaws for me. It's their party. They can do what they want. But for those reasons, I resigned from the party, and I wanted to let you all know that, and I want to apologize to anyone that voted for me. But that is not something I can be a part of. It's not a slight against the local Republican Town Committee. Like I said, there's just some fantastic people on that committee that really want to change things and really want to do good. But I can't sit on this show and tell you that I don't think that, for instance, Trump is a complete moron. I can't tell you that I don't think that, because I do. And I got to be honest. That's one thing that has led the Freedom Network from nothing to something, and probably 150, maybe to 250, 175. It's got to be close to 200 shows between here and other avenues that we've used. There is no way I'm going to tepid my response to anything based on some rule. And with that, to be quite honest with you, after the election, I will become an unenrolled voter, and I am going to leave the party, because I don't think that these parties should be telling people what they can and can't do. My whole feeling on the thing was I would like to take the party in a different direction. I mean, look at Washington. Look at the state level. We do much better. We have good reps, right? We have good reps. We have good Republican reps that I can see. We got one trying to become a rep. But the reality is that in Washington, the Republican Party is dead. It's weak. It's folding. And I'm going to get Mike on in a second, but I got to be honest with you, folks. The purpose of people that are elected to represent you in Washington is to do your bidding. It's not about who can compromise and who's going to say, I'll do that. It's not about what they want at all. It's about what you want. And it really maddens me to the point to see that people get mad at reps like we had with the Tea Party. They all came in, they tried to derail Obamacare, they tried to derail so many different things. And everyone was so upset with these reps, but the people that voted them in, this is the platform they ran on, folks. That's what they ran on. So in any event, come a couple of weeks from now, I'll be an unenrolled voter for the first time, because I've always been a registered Republican. But I had a bad taste in my mouth, and I do want to just make sure that we're very clear on the fact that it had nothing to do with the local Northbridge Republican Town Committee. They're good people, and they're going to do good things. They're just going to have to do them without me. Obviously, I support them. In any way, they're always welcome on the program. All right, so we move on. Let us move on. We're coming up to almost 20 past. That'll give us a good half hour, 35 minutes to talk to Mike about the schools in general, the budgeting. We're going to talk about question 2 and anything that you want to talk about as well. Troy, we got something ready? We can give these folks something fun to watch? You got a 50-second banger? All right, let's run it. We'll be right back with Mike on the Freedom Network.
Monsters do have their place. In the zoo, in your nightmares, in the deep, in your favorite horror movies. But not in your living room, on your TV. Don't let pay TV be the monster in your living room. Pay TV and cable TV companies are seeking the right to charge you for the very programs you now get free. If you want to stop pay TV and save free television, sign the petition in the lobby of this theater. Let your lawmakers know how you feel in the fight against pay TV and cable TV.
What a great spot. All right, we're back here at the Freedom Network studio with Mike Labrasso. How you doing?
Hey, Gary.
How's things?
Great. Thanks for having
Welcome.
me.
Yeah, welcome. We're very glad that you decided to get on in here. I know we had a little short notice, and we had made plans to come in, and then I had to cancel the plans, and you know
No
what?
problem.
Life gets crazy, but here we are sitting here talking. You know, we wanted to talk, let's get right to the meat and potatoes. We wanted to talk about the schools,
Yeah.
obviously. Give people a quick introduction. I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but let's just find out who you are.
Well, my name's Mike Labrasser, and I'm chairman of the school committee. I just realized I've been on the Northbridge School Committee for 10 years.
10
Yeah,
years.
I never thought that would happen, but it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun. Met a lot of great people, and really enjoy it. Learning a lot about how things work, not only within the schools, but within the town, and beyond that as well. Meeting other school committee members across the state, and they're obviously going through the exact same things we're going through. So it's a nice.
It's interesting,
group.
isn't it? It is
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, everybody thinks the grass is greener on the other side, and you know, you got this school and they've got this budget, and you get that school and they have that budget. But I've never met a school that feels they're at, you know, adequately budgeted, right? And these are the kids we're talking about. I mean, this is the future that we talk about, folks. So you know, when it comes to the schools, I think everybody gets, or should get, some kind of a soft spot, because at the end of the day, it is the future. It's the education of all of our children, and the reality is you want a good school system because you want your property value to be high and you want all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to look, I think, to the future and say, what are we producing? What are we producing? You know, what are we giving society? Is our town contributing, giving society? Now, personally, my son's in Northbridge schools. He does well. He's got great teachers. They challenge him immensely. I am amazed at the stuff that he's doing, to be quite honest with you. I'm really amazed by it. I think the curriculum is good. I think they're working within a little bit of a difficult framework, if you will, with some of the things, with Common Core and other stuff that they've got. You know, that this is what it is. We know Common Core won't be on the ballot. They got bamboozled out. I thought that it would be nice to see the people make that decision, and we had them on the program. But at the end of the day, guys like you got to make tough decisions. There's
Yeah.
tough decisions to be made. So budget-wise, where do we stand?
Well, it's funny. We're barely 2 months into this current school year, but we're already talking about next year's budget. You know, we knew when we put together last year's budget that the following year was going to be another challenge, that, you know, the costs to run the schools on a daily basis are growing faster than the revenues that come in. We know that, you know, when we had the override that failed, now that was 2014.
Yeah, it's a
The
few years
two
ago.
budgets after that, we weren't able to maintain the services from one year to the next. We had to make cuts, whether it was teachers or programs, athletics, language programs at the middle school. We had to make cuts for 2 consecutive years. We could not keep what we had the previous year, which was a challenge for us, which was disappointing actually more than anything else. And we went into this past budget season saying we do not want to cut anything else. Let's see what we can do to make, to extend every dollar we have to at least keep what we have. And fortunately, we were able to do that. We got a little bit extra money from the state. We got some additional money from the town through the appropriation. So, unfortunately, we raised some fees, but we took a little bit more out of our revolver accounts, but we were able to do that. So we have a school budget this year that was at least level services from one year to the next.
Well, that's really good. And we also, we got some money from the state, did we not?
Well, we did get increase in Chapter 70, but at the same time, the governor eliminated the kindergarten grant, the full-day kindergarten grant. It was actually a wash. So
That's what my next question was going to be. I mean, was it really an increase or was it a wash? you know. And,
Well, we do get, there's a minimum that we get every year per student, and I think the governor had originally come in at $20 per kid, so we were gonna get that. Then the legislature pushed back and brought that up to 55, but that increase was kind of wiped out by the kindergarten grant going away.
Right.
So,
Right. So if you want to keep that, you're going to have to reallocate those funds.
well, yeah,
and-
I mean, that helps us to maintain that. Not every community not every school district in Massachusetts has full-day kindergarten. We do.
Right. And we're a town, if you're watching from out of town, that doesn't have a big budget, let's say. We don't have a lot of revenue that comes in. So to be able to have something like that, to me, is a huge plus.
Yeah.
It's a huge
It
plus
is
for the town.
huge. And, rather versus, charging for kids to go to full-day kindergarten or having a half-day program where then the kids are entering first grade with that, that much less time learning in kindergarten. So as we go into next year, we wanted to get input from the community in advance. Because right around now is when we're gonna start to think about where do we want the administration to go with their budget development. So we're holding what we're calling these community input sessions. We have two that are still coming up. We have one tomorrow night. It's going to be at 6:30 at Bomber School. Anyone is welcome. And we have one next, the third, which is next Thursday, which is will be at the high school, also at 6:30. And what we want people, we're going to give people a little bit of information about the budget, how we do it, where the money comes from, what have we done the last couple of years. But then really what we want to do, we want to hear from the people. We want to hear what are we doing that's good, that we need to continue to focus on. What are some areas that we're not doing so great that we should be, how can we prioritize to improve? And then what's missing? What do we not have that maybe they'd like to see us look at? And we realize that we're not going to make it all work next year, but at least we can start to compile a list of where does the community see the schools going, and then we can start to address that.
I mean, to me, it makes so much sense. You have a town and you've got residents in it, and you're running a huge piece of the pie,
Yeah,
right? It's a huge piece of the money pie, and you want to talk to the people and find out what they want. I mean, to me, this makes a lot of sense, folks. That's probably why you continue to get reelected, because when you talk that common sense kind of stuff, well, what do you think? How often does any government entity say, what do you think? So at that point, it's semantics, whether you agree on every issue, disagree. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you guys seem very engaged, and you want to expand your engagement to the people. So this is tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, Bomber School, 6:30 to 8.
Okay, and then a week from tomorrow night.
It'll be at the high school, same time, 6:30
At
to
the
8.
high school.
Yeah, so if either of those
Yeah.
dates work, we'd love to get some people down there to even just to hear what other people have to say. But we're definitely we'll answer some questions if people have questions, but really it's a chance for you to tell us, what do you want from your schools? Where do you want us to try to prioritize and be as efficient and targeted with the money that we get?
Now, everybody always says, and you hear this all the time, we put more and more money into schools. I don't think the school budgets generally go down.
Right.
They do sometimes, I guess, depending upon the town. But in normal circumstances, they continue to go up. As a state, as a country, we have poured, and as a town, I mean, lots of money into education. We don't always get the results we want. Where do you, and maybe this is a question I don't know if you can answer or not, but where do you see where's the disconnect between the money that comes in and the output that people want? Like, what are they telling you at the meeting? Have you had any of these meetings yet?
We actually had one last week at the senior center. We wanted to do one during the day. We did one at the senior center. We had a decent crowd there, and we got more questions and input there from that audience.
Okay.
But it was it was definitely a great opportunity, worthwhile. I mean, I guess it comes down to when you say the output and the results. What are you basing that on? The one big number that everyone looks at, that the state pushes, is our MCAS scores. That's something that they evaluate every school district on. That's important. We want our kids to do, get the best score they can, but that's one thing.
Right.
That's one metric. Not all kids are great at tests. We're not going to get improvement across the board every single year. So it's difficult to be evaluated on that one thing, but there are other things, the types of colleges that our kids go to when they get out of high school, the scholarships that they get, the scholarships that we've gotten the last couple of years For merit scholarships for our high school students, it's been incredible. I mean, we're talking about, $2-3 million worth of
Wow.
merit scholarships. for
Wow,
our high
that's
school.
fantastic.
So there's a lot of things that are happening. We've got the career academies now where we're starting to put curriculum together, different subject matters together to get kids thinking about what do they want to do after high school, whether it's, college or a career or what it is, to start giving them some targeted training. It's not going to be, it's not at the level of a true career training high school, but we're trying to get there, and I think we're making some progress there, and it's been really well received.
Excuse me. I mean, I feel that and probably most schools do amazing things with the resources that they have. I do, and I say this, I've got family and friends that live all over the place, and we talk about the kids. You talk about school. You talk about what are they doing for projects or whatever the case may be. Just this past weekend, we were away with friends talking about different things, and school does come up now and then. And what amazes me is that there's a lot of I don't know. I can say bitching and moaning, right? It's a lot of bitching and moaning about the schools in Northbridge, and I'll be honest with you. I lived and grew up in Stoughton. People used to talk about Brockton High all the time. Oh, you don't want to go to Brockton High? Oh, one of the best schools you can go to.
It is now. It actually is.
I mean,
now.
it
Yeah.
really and
They've
truly
turned
is.
around.
I think that sometimes, we got to look a little bit inside when it comes to school. School is like work to me, and that's what I would tell my son. That's his job. That's his job. Until he's graduated, that's his job, is to obtain that. So his paycheck is on a roll, let's say, right? That's where you want him to be. I think that the Northbridge schools, and I've been on many sides of many different issues. I'm not a big tax guy. I don't like to see taxes go up. I think that this town has a lot of pride in its low tax rate, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think if we have the right people in the right places, we can get the most for what we got. And I like the realist. All right, this is what we want. Great. We all want a lot of things. But this is what we have, and this is what we can do. You guys do a good job. I got to tell you, I think you do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, the administration does a great job. That from principals right on up to the superintendent and the business manager. Over the years, where we've not been able to add positions, we've reevaluated. We've not just added positions year after year. If they're something that we really need, that they've gone through and they've looked at, are there things we can do without? We've had many reorganizations of positions, which isn't great for the stability of any organization, but it's something you have to do and say, hey, we could get away with this position because this is a bigger priority for us. And that's been a sort of a creative way that we've been able to address some deficiencies in our staff and our resources by making some changes here and there. And sometimes you make a change in one direction and a couple of years later you go back another direction, but it's just trying to be as efficient as we can with every dollar that we spend.
Sure. I mean, I think that makes perfect sense. I got a question for you, and I don't know if you have the answer off the top of your head. If we look at the pie of the budget,
Yeah.
how much do we spend on administration versus education?
I don't have that number. I've looked at that in the past. The state produces, the state does, they show every school district and they break out all the different categories: administration, teaching and learning, special ed, all that stuff. We're average. We're kind of in the range of right around the middle. So we're not
Yes.
spending a lot. I think probably a lot of school districts will tell you that one of the first places that goes is administration, because they've got a target on their head. We don't need. Why do we need three principal and two assistants, or why do we need an assistant superintendent? You hear that all the time, but there's a lot of work that has to get done, and every time you lose a position, someone has to pick up that work, and with the regulations and the reporting and all that comes down from the state. That stuff doesn't go
Yeah,
away.
and I think what happens is we want to run it as a business, right? I'm a business person, so I want to see it as a business. To me, there should be a very simple P&L, right? And to me, in education, the L is everybody that isn't in actually teaching the children. and the profits of the is the education that the kids are getting. I don't, I have more of an issue with let's say administrative costs within a town than I do within a school system. I don't know that we are so top heavy, but I do think that people generally would rather see, to your point, an administrator cut than a teacher cut. And at the end of the day, sometimes you do. Business goes down, all right, meaning revenues go down. You have to make some kind of cuts or adjustments. When that happens, as a consumer of the product, right? I don't care when I go into Walmart how many managers there are.
Right.
I care how many cashiers there are. Right? That's what I care about.
Someone to tell you the price.
Right.
How much
Where do I find this?
Yeah.
How much is this? And why do I have to wait in this long line? And I think that as a consumer, and that's what we are, we're consumers, that's what we see. And yeah, it's tough, and it's tough to talk about, and it's people's lives and all that. I get it. I absolutely get it. But I think at the end of the day, it's public, and people should ask those questions. And you folks can ask questions. You can send them to me. I can certainly send them to Mike. Or I just, go right on to one of these meetings and ask those questions because, no one's looking for a big debate or a big argument. I think that what you're looking for is great. It's information from people to try to gauge what you're doing. Like I talked about in the opening segment, you elect people, they should do what you want them to do. It's not what they want to do, it's what you want them to do. So you got a body here that's saying to you, hey, you elected us. What are your concerns? What do you want us to do? And when, 15 people show up or whatever the case is, here's another outlet. Email them to me. You've got from now till next Thursday, right? We'll put a time limit. You got right through the next show. Email me the questions. I can forward them over to Mike. I have his email. It's 2 clicks. No big deal. But if there's no pushback on it, then I don't think that there's a whole lot that they're going to do much different. They're going to keep trudging along saying, hey, look, everybody seems to be happy with what's going on, I guess, would be my read. If I said, how do you want the show to go? What do you want the format? And nobody had an opinion, I'd say, all right, I'm going to keep the format I have. Right? That's what you do. It's interesting. It really is interesting. I know we got a lot going on in the schools. I know just because I'm part of it, right? My son is here. He's an 8th grader. And like I've said before, and I've always maintained this, as I went to the polls and aggravated you, I'm sure, and voted against that last override, I did so almost saying to myself, how much more do I want to, when I spend this much more, what really am I going to get, right? My son is far more advanced than I was at his age. He's studying things that I didn't study for a few extra years. Maybe I was in 10th grade. And as I go through some of his stuff and I look at it, he says, hey, help me out with this. I've got to really kind of look twice. And I'm like, well, you guys are doing a lot of real stuff here. So, and I think that can get into that whole override concept too. It's not that people are against the schools, or that they kind of look at what's going on and they say, hey, my kid's smart as a whip. He's doing great. What do we got to pay more for? So when you finally get some of those questions, have you had any trends that you've spotted in questions from that first meeting?
No. I mean, I think we were kind of all over the place. They were asking, we did talk about, they did ask about question 2.
Mm-hmm.
They talked
Yeah,
about,
we're going to get to
they
it.
talked about how what we do, how does it relate to some of the other area schools? So no, I mean, there's nothing major that stuck out. But one thing, just to kind of bring it personal for you is, not to make you feel bad. But,
That's okay.
But one of the things that we cut after that override was middle school Spanish, right?
Yeah.
So my son's a sophomore now, so at the time he was in 7th grade taking Spanish 1, and we used to split Spanish 1 up over 2 semesters, over 2 years. So you take first half in 7th grade, second half in 8th grade. So he finished first half of Spanish 1, nothing in 8th grade. So we did an online program. So students who wanted to continue and had done well enough were able to pay to be part of this online program, so they continued. But now I have an 8th grader as well. My daughter and your son didn't have that chance to even have Spanish at the middle school level.
Sure.
And, that affects now I think I've been told now that, we have kids that take AP Spanish at the high school now because they're starting later. they're not going to have that opportunity anymore.
Right.
Which, that's one example of
No,
how those things
absolutely
affect
is.
down the road.
It is. I mean, I just speak my mind. That's what I do. I feel one way and the other with that kind of stuff. I went to high school, and didn't go to college. Clawed my way up, the old-fashioned way, the hard way, which is the stupid way, to be quite honest with you. I already told my son, you're going to college. Much easier route. Take the path of least resistance, right? But I will tell you that I remember sitting in class and my Spanish teacher telling me that if you don't get, and it wasn't a requirement, actually. You didn't have to pass it. You had to take it, was the way. You had to be in it, and you had to, it was one elective. It wasn't even, you could pick it, and you could pick it in, I think, 3 or 4 different years. You just had to take the class. And I got out of it by the skin of my teeth. And I remember the teacher telling us, great teacher too, great guy, that we needed to learn this. This is what we needed to learn. This had to happen. We had to learn it. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I can't speak Spanish. Yeah. I'm okay. You know what I mean? I'm doing okay. I think this is where people say, well, let's evaluate some stuff. You know what? Do I lose a Spanish class? Does that make my kid? Yeah, so he can't speak Spanish, and the guy that goes to Grafton speaks Spanish. Okay, I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. That may give him a leg up in certain situations in life. I don't know that it's I'm not going to vote for an override to get Spanish classes. Sure. But at the same time, your point, I certainly do take. Mesfin has emailed in out there. Mesfin. He's running for the 2nd Worcester District. He says, when I'm elected, the towns of the 2nd Worcester District would do better, educating our children by getting increased funding. Now, I want to say, thanks, Mesfin. We did get better funding when we elected a Republican, didn't we? Both at the state level. Maybe not better, maybe a wish-wash, but I think Dave has done a really good job.
Dave has. His predecessor was a Republican.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you're under Charlie Baker, and I voted for Charlie Baker, but he's been disappointing education-wise. When under his 2 years of budgeting, the state budget has grown 7%. Education has grown 3%. Early childhood education, which was something he campaigned on, has grown 2%. The kindergarten grant, as I mentioned, wiped out.
Yeah.
So, you start to question, and then he's out knocking on doors. He and his lieutenant governor are literally out knocking on doors, campaigning for question 2. So it makes you wonder, what is his priority when it comes to education?
Yeah, he's aggravated me on many issues. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, you know me, I'm never satisfied with any politician, right? But he's aggravated me on several issues, and I don't think he's such a champion of the public schools. I think he's pretty fiscally responsible, and I think that might lend itself to that, restructuring of aid and that kind of stuff, and it might just be a byproduct of what he thinks. I think our chances are better with Republicans and with Democrats when it comes to, you look at things in the national level like states' rights, and I think you look at things in the state level like town rights. Mm-hmm. Let's send more money back to the towns. And then it's up to our town to get that money over to the school, of course, which is another issue we don't have to get into. But you talked about charter schools. I'm gonna think that and say that most of the people I know, and my mother was a teacher. I haven't even asked my own mother yet because I wanted to have a clear mind coming into this, because my mother can sway me very easily. I am undecided on this question. I don't know what to do, because half of me says, I keep hearing all these arguments, right? And I'm going to give you an open area to discuss this, but I hear that it takes money away from the schools. But then I hear, well, how can it take money away from the schools if you're just reallocating the money that you'd spend on that student anyway? And then I hear, well, but wait a minute, we want kids in the inner cities to be able to go to charter schools. It's not the kids that are so much out in the towns, but what about these kids in dilapidated schools that don't have an exit? Now they would have an exit. But then I say, well, how do they get to there? I mean, if you're in Boston and you open up a charter school in Milton, no kid from Boston can get to Milton. Right. So you'd have to open it in Boston. And if you open it in Boston, how much does that cost? Because that's going to cost an awful lot of money. Mm-hmm. And how much does then that siphon off administration and other things? We're just thinking about cost per pupil. I've seen cost per pupils. It's stupid amounts, and I've seen them as low as $5,000 or so. Mm-hmm. I am lost in this debate. I am a guy that likes to get information. When I knew that you were going to come on last week or the week before when we had first talked, I stopped because I trust your opinion and I wanted to get your opinion on it. So I haven't done a ton of research except for tonight's show. I did do some research, and it seems to me like I'm still stuck in the middle. Tell me why I'm against this.
Well, I have so many reasons why I could tell you to be against it, but start with this. You need to separate from this debate whether you think charter schools add value and do a good job or not. That's not what question 2 is about. Question 2 is about adding potentially 12 more schools a year, every year, anywhere, forever. That's what question 2 does. So personally, my opposition is not to charter schools, it's to this question and the language that's written in this question, which was written by the Massachusetts Charter School Association, by the way. So you know where they're coming from. The legislature 2 years ago created the Foundation Budget Review Commission, which was set up to evaluate the formula that the state uses to say, this is how much each community should spend on education. They found that we were underfunding education by $1 billion
Wow.
in the state. So if you start talking about schools that are struggling, there's one reason why. And I know that money doesn't fix everything, but certainly when you're talking about $1 billion,
Well, that could fix
have
a
some
few things.
impact. That could certainly fix a few
$1 billion
things.
is a little
And
bit of money.
The Senate, coming into the budget season, they put together a bill, they passed a bill called the RISE Act, which not only would have started to address some of the funding challenges that FBRC identified, but they also had some additional mechanisms to grow the number of charter schools. They passed it. The House didn't even talk about it. The House didn't even bring it up. And the governor ignored FBRC in his budget. So we didn't address the funding issue, yet we want to add more schools. So if you're a struggling school, and you're struggling for whatever reason, and a charter school drops into the neighborhood next door, and you start losing kids and you lose money, is your school going to get better now because you've lost kids that may be more motivated, maybe have less challenges and I don't want to say easier to educate, but they're kids who are going to charter schools for a reason. Their parents are paying attention. They want to go somewhere specific. They're motivated, right? So then the school district is left with those kids that aren't in that situation, and now they have less money. And I want to talk about the money. You know, they say, well, the money follows the kid. Okay, well,
Yeah,
if
to
we
address this,
spend-
because this is where I get crazy.
if we spend $12,000 per kid,
Yeah.
right? When one kid leaves, we don't lose $12,000 in expenses. We still have, if let's say one kid leaves from a class, we still have the teacher, we still have the classroom, we still have the utilities, we still have a bus. It's not that kid is taking $12,000 with him. The only way, the closest you would get is if we lost a whole classroom of kids, then okay, we're eliminating a class so we can get rid of a teacher, but you're probably not losing a bus, you're not losing the building. So it doesn't make sense mathematically to say the money follows the kids. And on average, we get about $6,500 in state aid per kid.
Yeah.
When a student leaves to a charter school in Northbridge, that costs us almost $12,000. They take that out of our state aid, so we're upside down.
Let me grab a call and then I'll come back and ask my question. Maybe the caller has the same question. Oh, look, I got nobody. They hung up on me. Do I have the right phone? Is this the Freedom Network phone or is this not the Freedom Network phone? Now they're running around and scrambling all over the place.
Doors opening.
That's okay. I got an email in. This says, I see so many charter schools that fail, I have to wonder if it's the right way to go. I see failed charter schools raking in the millions of dollars at all the time. Why?
This phone does both lines.
This phone does both lines.
There's a black button on the top,
There's a black button on the top.
and you can see 3 of them. There's line 1 and line 2. Turn on line 2.
Turn on line 2. You're really challenging me.
Top right,
That looks like-
Top right, there we go.
and then hit speaker.
All right, I got nobody. I mean, let me try one.
All right,
Do I have somebody on the Freedom Network line? I don't.
The light is on.
speaker, it's on. It's
The
on.
light is on. Is this Mesfin?
Yes.
Oh, there you are, Mesfin. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Mesfin, only for you do we go through these lengths to get somebody on the air.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful.
What do you got, bud?
Well, I was just listening to, I think, the school committee member on question 2. I'm a supporter of charter schools, okay? 12
Okay.
schools, whatever they say. But I want to ask him.
Yeah.
See, I have children in public school from the beginning. It's called Union Hill School, which is in my neighborhood, which is very poor, area code, whatever you call it. So it was a failing school, but somehow the city elected official, which is one of the former mayor of Worcester, which advocates for, because he has, minority kids, whatever. So, he puts a lot of money and resources to renovate and to do many things so the school can rise from fourth level to the first level. So my kids went to school, and one of my son, now, he has been this second year in Catholic school, Holy Name. Very smart kid, very bright kid. But when he was going 7th grade, he's supposed to go to other school, which is really, really, really bad school. So we chose, me and his mom, we chose to put him to Catholic school, and he has a scholarship, and also we pay half of the yearly money.
All right.
But let me tell you. So
What's the
you were
question?
talking about $5,000 per child per year, I guess, in public school or whatever it is. So if my child is not properly educated, or the school doesn't fit his ability, or whatever reason, whether he needs more help or he's very smart. So, why not allocate that money, the $5,000, to the school of my choice? So if I need to pay extra for the school I'm going to send him, I can pay that. So I should have, a say on my child's education. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. So is your question, Mesfin, then about the
Yeah.
portability of money?
Well, we are still, yes, the ability to pay money. Let's say if somebody cannot afford, there are schools which they can give you a scholarship. So give me whatever money you are giving for that child for the public school, so I can send him to the school I want to.
So you're
if I have
talking
to pay
vouchers.
extra,
He's
I'll
talking
pay.
vouchers.
If not,
Yeah.
I'll
Right.
get scholarship or whatever.
All right.
I can.
No, I understand you. It's the money you see as being allocated by a town, a city, a state to educate your child, and you want to be able to take that money and put it wherever you want to put it. And I think that that what we're talking about is that money that you lose. I guess you got to look at a lot of things, right, when you come to this. And I'm just trying to be very open-minded on this. I think you've got to look at a few things. The first thing that I'm understanding now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that $5,000 is an average. Now you take one kid and remove them. It doesn't. That's an average based on all those kids, right? I mean, that's an average based
I don't know
on
where the
all the
$5,000
kids. Do you know where the
No, there is no
$5,000?
$5,000. The charter tuition is based on what we pay is based on how much we pay in our schools. So they take every school district and they determine what their charter tuition will be. And
So is
it'll
that they're
vary.
all different?
It's all different based on how much each town spends. But what's difficult about that is they take all of the Chapter 70 in that amount away from the town, when the Chapter 70 isn't funding every dollar that goes toward that student. As I mentioned, in Northbridge, we get about $6,500 per student in Chapter 70. If a child leaves to a charter school, we lose almost 12. So they've taken more money than we would have gotten from the
I
state.
get you. Mesfin.
Yeah.
All right, I got an answer for you. I don't know if it's the one you want, but I got you an answer. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, he's mad at me now. All right, Mesfin. We'll get you
I
back.
support
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
Public school too. I want you to understand.
Yeah.
I support public school. I'm not saying we have to do that, but we have to give a choice for parents. I don't want to keep my kid in failing schools, or
Okay.
empowering parents teachers, and also, giving an opportunity for teachers to be retrained again. I'm all for public school, but I want to choose where I want to send my
Fair
child.
enough.
So right now, I'm paying out of my pocket for my child, and I don't have a problem with it.
All right. No, that's fair enough. I mean, I get it. I get where you're going. I think that we get where you're going. I want to see if I got anybody else that wants to pop on. All right, Mesfin?
All right, thanks.
Mesfin, stop in before the election. All right.
Something I think is also important to know is that currently in Massachusetts, we are allowed 120 charter schools.
Yes.
There are only 81. We're not even at the cap.
We're not at the cap.
We're not at the
So
cap.
this comes back to an emailer that really wanted to know something, and I don't think I may have asked a question properly. Said, the charter schools lose millions of dollars a year because they fail. Is the question mark? Where does that money go?
Where does the money?
So when you say I don't know if I understand the question, and I want to ask it, and I've probably got a minute or two. They're already getting nervous in the control booth. It's all right. I'll get out of here in time. I don't know if that's the question that he's trying to ask. It says the question simply was, charter schools lose millions of dollars a year because they fail, question mark, where does that money go?
Eventually, it would probably come back to the school district. Eventually, but not right away.
All right. I want to give you, they're going to kill me, but I want to give you 30 seconds to tell me, or to tell our audience why we want not to have charter schools. I'm going to sit today as a little still undecided, and maybe we got to get you back for more time on this. I know we talk local
Yeah.
schools a lot, but I'm going to give you the last word on the Freedom Network.
Well, 202 school committees across the Commonwealth have formally voted in opposition to question 2, as well as city councils, town boards of selectmen. Northbridge Board of Selectmen also did. So we stand together in wanting to come up with a solution that addresses all of our schools and education for all of our students, not just a small percentage of kids that may elect or choose to go to a charter school. And question 2 does not do that. It just doesn't answer all the questions that we need to address for schools.
All right, fair enough, folks. You hear it. You hear it right here on the Freedom Network. We always don't agree on everything. Trust me, you and I don't agree on everything. And I still don't know what to do with this. I got to keep doing some research.
failed, Gary.
No, you didn't fail. I'm a tough nut to crack. I'm inclined to go along with what you're saying. I was 50-50. Maybe now I'm 51-49.
I've got a
So-
few more points I can share with you.
Yeah, you got a few things. I'm not going to get out of here for a while. I don't think after the show, folks. I got to make room for 3 on 11. They're coming in, living large. Mike, I want you to come back.
All right.
All right. I want
will.
to talk about these issues, and as they come up with us, you're always welcome, folks. This has been the Freedom Network. I will be back next week.
Thank you.